My mother is 56 years old, and she is a cancer survivor. She's 16 years cancer-free. She had terminal cancer 16 years ago, and by the grace of God, she was saved. And I went to go to her. She stated she had pain in her chest, and that she was having a hard time. She was feeling migraines. She felt lightheaded. So I rushed her to the hospital, to the urgent care, to the emergency room at DHR. We were there for 5 hours. She was not seen. I then told her, you know what, let's go to a different hospital. Let's go to an urgent care. And I took her out of there. I took her to urgent care because my mother's not one to complain. And when we get there to the urgent care, the doctor comes in right away. They do blood work. They do an EKG. They do tests right away. And the doctor at first said, well, why don't you take any medication for pain? And my mother's like, well, I'm not one to complain about pain. And the doctor said, I'm going to do all these tests. She seemed frustrated at first, but then decided to do more blood work, see what's going on. And when the doctor comes back, the doctor says, in her blood work, there is a specific test that we take. It's called a D-dimer test. If it comes out really high, that means that she has a blood clot. So they said they wanted to do a CAT scan. They did a CAT scan. They said if the CAT scan comes back okay, she is okay. If the CAT scan comes back abnormal, then she will have to be admitted to the hospital. So they did the CAT scan. Sure enough, my mom had blood clots in her pulmonary arteries. And not only that, but they did an accidental finding of cysts, multiple cysts in her lungs and in her livers. And right away, my mom just speaks Spanish, so I had to translate everything to her. And as a daughter, it hurt. And right away she said, I'm gonna go. I already know it's probably cancer. I know it's gonna, I'm gonna die. And I told her, Mom, God is greater. Doctors can say one thing, but God is greater. And so they said that they were gonna admit her to the hospital because of blood clots. And that they were glad that she came over here and that I trusted my gut, and I took her to the urgent care. They transported her through the ambulance, took her to the hospital, the heart hospital here in McAllen. And, they did more blood work, they did more EKGs, and I was calling Pastor, and I'm like, Pastor, I need you. I was like, I need prayers. My mother needs some prayers, and I'm trying to stay calm. I'm trying to be positive. And I'm like, I just need you to pray for me. And Pastor prayed for me, and he said, everything's going to be okay. Keep me posted. It doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m. Just call me, text me, and I am here. So when we went to the hospital, my mom was admitted. They did more blood work and tests. And in the morning, it was about almost 8 in the morning. Was it 8 or 9 in the morning? And I called Pastor, and Pastor sent me a message. He's like, if you can please give me a call when you get the chance. And everything the doctors were saying, there's blood clots, and we need to do all these different tests. And I called Pastor right away, and I tell him what's going on, and he said that your words are powerful. He said, if you are thinking positive and you say into existence that everything's going to be okay, because God gives us the opportunity. And he prayed over my mother, and we talked to him. And my mother she's always gone to a Catholic church, and this was the first time she ever let a pastor pray for her. And he prayed for her, and she was like, automatically when I hung up the phone with him, she said, I felt some weight lifted off my shoulders. And she didn't think she didn't think negative anymore. She said, you know what, I'm going to trust what the pastor said, and I know everything's going to be okay. So we were there. It was already 3-4 in the afternoon. And I asked, is the doctor going to come in? And because, the longer we waited, the more anxious we were. But I had told my mother, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And the doctor comes in, and he comes and checks her in her chest, and he's like, everything came normal. There's nothing wrong with your heart. And I said, what about the blood clots? And they and the doctor said, what blood clot? And he said, give me a second. And he runs out, and he looks at the CAT scan from the urgent care. There was blood clots. And he looked at the ones now, and they were gone. And we went home, and on the way home, my mother said, no one can tell me there's no power in prayer. She said that there was no doctor that healed me, that was all God. And when we got home, my mother said, I want to meet this pastor of yours.